I am not the best, not the smartest in the room, not the most handsome in the mirror, not the richest among my friends, not the strongest when life tests patience, but I am real, and maybe that is my only qualification to tell this story. This is not a story about a hero. This is not a story about perfection. This is a confession. I grew up in a narrow street of Karachi where every neighbor knew our family history better than we did. The kind of place where walls were thin, voices were loud, and dreams were often bigger than the rooms we slept in. My father used to say, Beta dunya mi bes banazarori nahi, imandar banazarori hai. It's not important to be the best. It's important to be honest. Back then, I didn't understand him, because the world doesn't clap for honesty first. It claps for winners, for toppers, for perfect people with perfect lives. And I was never perfect. In school, there was always someone ahead of me, someone who scored higher, someone who ran faster, someone who spoke better English, someone teachers admired more. I was that boy teachers described as, he is good, but he needs improvement. That sentence became my identity. Good, but not enough. I tried. Allah knows I tried. I stayed up late, pretending to study while actually staring at the ceiling, wondering why effort didn't always turn into excellence. I memorized lessons, practiced handwriting, copied notes neatly. Still, I remained in the middle of the class photo, never front row, never last. Just somewhere in between. Being average is a strange thing. You are never hated, but you are rarely celebrated. At home, my mother loved me the same. But relatives didn't forget to compare. Shahid ka beta dek, first aya hai, uska ladka, English medium mein hai. Tum kya kar rahe ho? I smiled outside. Inside, I shrank. I began believing something dangerous. Maybe I am not made to be special. Years passed. I entered college. That's where I first met her. She wasn't the most beautiful girl in the campus, in the typical way people describe beauty, but she had something dangerous kindness in her eyes. The kind that makes you feel seen. The first time she spoke to me, I forgot what I was saying mid-sentence. She laughed. Not at me, with me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel average. We became friends slowly. Library conversations, canteen chai, shared notes, shared complaints about assignments. She once told me, you are different, not best, not perfect, but different. That word became oxygen for me. I started trying harder. Not to be the best student, not to impress teachers, but to be worthy of her time. But here is my confession. I was insecure. Deeply. Every time she talked to a smarter guy, I felt small. Every time someone praised her in front of me, I felt afraid. Afraid that one day she would realize I am not enough. Because that thought never left me. I am not the best. One evening, while walking back from campus, she asked me something simple. Why do you always doubt yourself? I laughed it off, but she didn't let it go. You always say, I'm not good enough. Who told you that? I wanted to say, everyone. Teachers, relatives, society, my own mind. But instead I said, I just know. She stopped walking. You don't have to be the best to be valuable. That sentence hit me harder than any insult ever did. Because I had spent my whole life trying to reach a place where someone would say, "Now you are enough." But she was telling me I already was. Still, insecurity is a poison that doesn't leave easily. As our bond grew stronger, so did my fear. I loved her. I didn't say it at first, but I felt it in the way I waited for her messages, in the way my mood depended on her smile, in the way I imagined a future where she was part of it. But love and fear grew together. When her family started looking for rishtas, I panicked. I didn't have a stable job yet. I wasn't financially strong. I wasn't the best option. And society doesn't ask if you are kind. It asks if you are successful. I remember the night she told me her family had found a proposal from a well-settled guy working abroad. My heart didn't break loudly. It cracked silently. She looked at me and asked, "What should I do?" And here is my biggest confession. I didn't fight. I didn't say, "Choose me." I didn't promise the world. I didn't beg. I just said, "Do what makes your family happy." Because deep inside, I believed she deserved better than me. Better house, better life, better security, better man. She cried that day, and I acted strong. But strength without courage is just fear in disguise. A few months later, she was engaged. I attended her engagement ceremony, smiled, shook hands, congratulated. That night, I went home and looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. "I am not the best," I whispered. And for the first time, it didn't sound humble. It sounded like surrender. After she got married and moved away, life became quiet, too quiet. I focused on work, took small jobs, learned skills, failed interviews, tried again. Something inside me changed though. Not ambition, understanding. I started realizing something strange. Maybe I was never meant to compete with the world. Maybe I was meant to compete with the version of me that believed I was nothing. Years later, I heard she wasn't as happy as everyone thought. The perfect life had cracks. The best option had flaws. That's when I understood something painful. There is no best. There is only real. And I was real. I may not have been rich. I may not have been extraordinary. But I would have loved her honestly. But life doesn't give second chances easily. So here I am, writing this confession. I am not the best son, not the best student, not the best lover, but I am someone who tried, someone who felt deeply, someone who lost because he doubted himself. And maybe that is my lesson. If you are reading this and you feel average, if you feel like you are always second choice, if you feel like you are never enough, listen to me carefully. Being not the best is not a curse. Believing you are worthless, that is the real tragedy. I lost love not because I was incapable. I lost love because I thought I was. And that is a mistake I carry quietly. This is not the end of my story. This is just the part where I admit my weakness, because sometimes confession is the first step toward becoming stronger. Years passed, not dramatically, not in a movie-style transformation, just quietly, like dust settling on old memories. I did not become suddenly successful. I did not wake up one morning as a different man. But I changed, slowly. After she left, Something inside me broke, but something else woke up. For the first time in my life, I realized that my biggest enemy was not society, not comparison, not even circumstances. It was the voice inside me that kept whispering, "You are not enough." I had believed that voice for years, but heartbreak has a strange power. It either destroys you completely or forces you to rebuild yourself from scratch. I chose to rebuild, not to prove anything to her, not to prove anything to relatives, but to prove something to myself. I started working seriously. I took small freelance projects online. I learned digital skills at night. I failed more times than I succeeded. There were months when money was tight. Months when I questioned everything again. But this time, something was different. Earlier, when I failed, I used to say, "See, I'm not the best." Now, when I failed, I said, "I'm learning." That small change in words changed my entire direction. One evening, I was sitting at the beach in Karachi, the same city where I once felt invisible. The sea was loud, the sky was orange, families were laughing, kids were running in the sand. And I asked myself something honestly for the first time. What if I don't have to be the best? What if I just have to be consistent? What if I just have to be sincere? What if I just have to stop abandoning myself? That day, I made a quiet promise. I will never reject myself again just because I am not extraordinary. Time moved forward. My work improved. Slowly, clients trusted me more. I started earning better. Not millionaire money, but respectable, stable, clean. People who once compared me started saying, "Mashallah, achakar raha hai." It felt strange, because I knew the truth. The biggest battle I won was not financial. It was internal. Then, one night, something unexpected happened. I received a message, her name on my phone after years. My hands froze. I stared at the screen for a long time before opening it. "Assalamu alaikum. I hope you are doing well." Simple, polite, distant, but powerful. We talked cautiously at first. Basic updates, life questions, safe topics. Then slowly, the truth started slipping between the lines. Her marriage wasn't what everyone thought. The perfect man had anger issues, emotional distance, control. The big house felt like a cage sometimes. I didn't feel happy hearing that. I didn't feel satisfied. I felt heavy. Because once upon a time, she asked me what she should do. And I told her to choose safety. Now I understood something painful. Safety without love is not security. It is silence. We started talking occasionally. Nothing inappropriate. Just two old souls, remembering who they used to be. One night, she asked me something that shook me. "Why didn't you fight for me?" I could have lied. I could have said, "Your family wouldn't agree." But this was a confession story. So I told her the truth. Because I thought you deserved better than me. There was silence on the call. Then she said softly, "I didn't need better. I needed brave." That sentence stayed with me for days. I wasn't weak. I wasn't incapable. I was just afraid. Afraid of not being the best choice. Afraid of rejection. Afraid of failure. And that fear cost me love. But here is the part where life surprised me again. I stared at our conversations long after they ended. Not because I was obsessed, but because your words felt safe. And safety is addictive when you've lived in emotional storms. You became calm in my chaos. Do you understand what that means? It means you matter more than you realize. I'm not perfect. I overthink. I get quiet. When I'm overwhelmed, I sometimes pretend I don't care when I care too much. But with you, I want to be better. Not because you asked me to, but because loving you makes me want to grow. That's how I know this isn't temporary. Temporary feelings don't inspire change. Baby, I'm scared. There, I said it. I'm scared of loving you more than you love me. I'm scared of needing you. I'm scared of building a future in my head that doesn't exist in yours. But I'm more scared of never telling you, of pretending this is casual when it isn't, of losing you because I stayed silent. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like if you knew everything, if you knew that when I say take care, I mean please stay safe because my heart lives with you. If you knew that when I joke, sometimes I'm hiding how deeply I feel. If you knew that I notice every change in your voice, would it scare you? Or would it make you hold my hand tighter? Baby, read this carefully. I don't love you because you're perfect. I love you because you're real, because you have flaws and fears and still show up. Because you don't try to impress me, you're just yourself, and somehow that's exactly what my heart chose. I didn't choose this logically. If love were logical, I would have protected myself. I would have kept things light, surface level, safe. But my heart doesn't operate on logic, it operates on connection. And with you, the connection feels different. It feels grounded, not dramatic, not explosive, just steady. And steady love is the most dangerous kind because it feels like home. Baby, I need you to understand something. I'm not asking for promises. I'm not demanding forever. I'm not trying to trap you with emotions. I just needed you to know the truth that when I say I care, I mean deeply. That when I stay, I'm choosing you. That when I write this, it's because you matter enough for me to risk vulnerability. If one day you read this and realize you feel the same, I hope you tell me. And if you don't, I hope you still respect the courage it took to write this. Because loving someone silently is heavy. But loving someone honestly, even without guarantee, is brave. Baby, read this. Because I wrote it for you. Not for attention, not for drama, not for sympathy, but for truth. And truth deserves to exist. Baby, if you only knew how much space you take inside me, you would probably hold this letter with trembling hands. Because what I feel isn't small, it isn't temporary, it isn't something I can switch off when it becomes inconvenient. It has roots now. There are things I never told you, not because I wanted to hide them, but because I was afraid they would make everything heavier. You see, loving you didn't just make me happy. It made me aware of my fears, aware of my insecurities, aware of how deeply I'm capable of feeling. Before you, I was balanced in a different way. I didn't check my phone hoping your name would appear. I didn't replay conversations in my mind wondering if I said the right thing. I didn't overanalyze tone shifts. Now I do. Not because I'm insecure about myself, but because I care about you, and caring is risky. If you only knew how many times I stopped myself from saying I miss you, how many times I typed something emotional and erased it, how many times I chose calmness over honesty because I didn't want to overwhelm you. Love teaches restraint before it teaches expression, and I've been practicing restraint, baby. I didn't want to create problems, so I carried them alone. You would say, everything's fine, and I would nod, even when my heart whispered, no, it's not. The night I realized I was disappearing, there was one night I will never forget. We were talking, but it felt distant, forced, polite, like two strangers, pretending to remember each other. After we hung up, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I didn't recognize who I had become. I was quieter, smaller, less expressive, less demanding, less me. I had slowly adjusted my personality to fit your comfort. I laughed less loudly. I complained less honestly. I loved less openly. And I realized something terrifying. I was disappearing in the name of love. That night, I cried not because you hurt me, but because I allowed myself to stay silent while it happened. Why I stayed quiet for so long? I stayed silent because I believed love required sacrifice. I thought patience meant tolerating confusion. I thought understanding meant ignoring my own needs. I thought loyalty meant never questioning you. But love is not supposed to feel like walking on broken glass. Love is not supposed to make you afraid of expressing pain, and love is definitely not supposed to silence you. I was scared. Scared that if I told you how much you were hurting me, you would choose to leave instead of fix it. So I chose silence. And that silence slowly destroyed me. The breaking point: you didn't scream at me. You didn't insult me. You didn't officially end things. You just stopped trying. And that hurt more than any argument ever could. It was the day I realized I was the only one fighting, the only one adjusting, the only one holding on. I sent you A message that day. Simple. Do you still care? You took hours to reply. Of course. But your words felt empty. And for the first time, I felt something shift inside me. I deserved more. Then, of course, I deserved effort. I deserved reassurance without begging. And that's when I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. This is for you. This is for you. Not to blame you. Not to attack you. But to finally be honest. You hurt me not because you were cruel, but because you were careless. You stopped valuing what I was quietly giving. You assumed I would always understand, always wait, always forgive. And maybe I would have if you had at least tried. But love cannot survive on one person's silence. What I never told you, I never told you. How many times I cried after our conversations. I never told you how much anxiety I felt before sending you a message. I never told you that sometimes I would stare at my phone for hours, hoping you would notice I was gone. I never told you that I prayed for us more than I prayed for myself. And I never told you that every time you pulled away, I felt like I wasn't enough. But I am enough, and I'm finally strong enough to say it. Choosing my voice speaking now doesn't mean I hate you. It means I respect myself. It means I finally understand that love without communication is emotional starvation. I should have told you sooner. I should have said, "This hurts me. I need reassurance. I feel distant from you." But I was afraid of being too much. Now I realize the right person will never make you feel like your emotions are a burden. If you ever wonder, if you ever wonder why I changed, it's because silence exhausted me. If you ever wonder why I stopped trying, it's because I was tired of loving alone. If you ever wonder why I finally spoke up, it's because I couldn't breathe under the weight of unspoken words anymore. This is not revenge. This is release. The goodbye I never said. Maybe we won't talk the same way again. Maybe this confession will create distance, but at least it's honest. And I would rather lose someone while speaking my truth than keep someone while losing myself. So this is for you, for the love I gave, for the silence I endured, for the lessons I learned. I couldn't stay silent anymore because loving you should never have required me to disappear. And now I choose my voice, even if it shakes. I didn't know you felt that way. Four simple words, and somehow they hurt more than everything else. Because how could you not know? How could you not see the cracks in my voice? The hesitation in my texts? The way I slowly stopped laughing? The way I used to? But then I realized something painful. You can't expect someone to understand what you never clearly say. And that's where my silence betrayed me. The conversation we should have had long ago that night, for the first time in a long time, we talked honestly. No pretending, no sugarcoating, no "I'm fine." You told me you felt pressured sometimes. You said you didn't know how to handle emotions the way I did. You admitted you noticed the distance too, but you thought I was the one pulling away. And that shocked me. All this time, I thought I was the only one hurting. But maybe we were both drowning, just in different ways. The difference? I drowned quietly. Loving you was never the problem. Let me be clear. Loving you was never my mistake. The mistake was loving you without boundaries. I gave without asking. I forgave without discussing. I waited without knowing if you were coming back. And when you grew comfortable in that silence, I resented you for it. But how could you respect boundaries I never set? How could you fix pain I never described? That realization broke me a little because it meant I had a role in my own heartbreak, and accepting that was harder than blaming you. The fear of being too much due. You know why I stayed silent for so long? Because somewhere in my past, someone made me feel like my emotions were too much, too sensitive, too dramatic, too needy. So when I started loving you, I promised myself I wouldn't overwhelm you.